we were just saying, Brendan, that we got bumped, and so all of our publicity information went out with a different link. That link had to get handed off to the vice president of Pfizer, who's giving a talk at the college today.
Oh.
So we kind of we're not sure exactly how big a crowd we'll be able to pull for you, but we're at 10 already.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
all
think
right.
most of 256 is gonna pop in. So we got Derek's here, Anthony's here. Let's see who else is here. Nate, are you in? Oh, I forget what class you're in.
I'm imagining. I don't know any of these people.
I know
It's weird.
Yeah, and
look at I'm loving the video. Look at the video, like the lighting between the three of us. We might be from different species. Like I'm completely yellow. Jen's got like a red. There's like a cool blue over there with Eric.
Yeah,
Brandon.
I keep mine like really like bright. So like when I come in here at night, it's.
Oh my gosh, like, I would not be able to.
You trick your mind into thinking you should be awake, even though it's 2 a.m.
Right. Yeah. Then it's
that's
like
smart in that regard, I guess.
That's why it's like
light.
11 o'clock at night, and I'm doing something, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed now, and it's like, no, I'm not.
They do that in Las Vegas too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just tricking myself.
Did you take away the clock as well?
Yeah. There's no. Well, unfortunately, I just look at the monitors.
Yeah.
And it's on there. Yeah. And that's always the case as you're working and you're like, oh, cool. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock at night. And you're like,
yeah, there's no time. The last year time has not existed. So.
I wrote 4 bars in 7 hours.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my
gosh.
That's kind of like lines of code, though. It's the same thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a good line of code. So it's all good.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure that's the same exact thing.
Hey, the space looks great. I love the push.
Yeah, I got my push. I love
seeing the synths lined up there.
This is just a little MIDI control, but the main synth now is right here.
Is that the Prophet?
That's the Prologue.
Oh,
yeah,
I got a Prologue. That was my second choice, the Prophet, but then as I was looking for instruments that or synthesizers that I wanted to use for writing like the kind of music I wanted to write. Of course, the Prophet is, from the 80s. The Prophet 6 I was looking at, but
I have the Rev 6, I think.
You have the Rev 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This Prologue really had some really like right out of the box. Like the first patch is like it's called I think it's called wait, I can tell you. Runner Brass. So it's like Blade Runner. You know what I mean? You hit it, it's like this crazy, like, whoa. I was like, well,
I love Korg. I love sequential stuff, Prophet, but I love Korg too.
Yeah, it's all good, no matter what.
We got a first synth we ever got. It's like together. My husband and I we had such separately, but we got a Korg Kronos, and so he turned on the hammered dulcimer, and for 2.5 years, that's the only sound he's ever played.
He used.
Oh, geez.
That's great.
All right. Well, let's see. We're at kickoff time.
Yeah.
So we want to respect your time. This is the Local Perspectives on Electronic Music series that we've launched this semester. This is our third session of this semester. We're so happy to have an alum with us from MCC. This is Brendan Hefley. And Brendan, we're just thrilled that you were able to take time and be here with us. I mean, everybody has Zoom fatigue beyond words. So we're really grateful. And our students at 137 are going to be seeing this. We'll put it up on the college channel later. So we have students from the SRT currently in the SRT program. Brendan's a graduate of the SRT program at MCC. So we're going to talk to him about a whole range of things. So keep some questions in your mind. We're going to talk about composing, playing live, kind of setting up a studio, all things that are so fun and so interesting and sometimes so scary for people. Was there anything for you, Brendan, that like kind of made it a hard step to get into composing and writing and performing, or did it feel pretty natural for you?
It's always felt pretty natural. But when you start to like incorporate all of this into it, then it does get a little intimidating. Because I come from a background of playing drums, like even high school. I taught drumline for years.
Oh wow!
And then I got out of that, and I I was like, I guess it was in like mid-20s, and it's just like, I want to join a band, So you did that. I did that, and I technically still do have ties with that, but I actually got rid of my drums.
I remember that.
I put them. I just actually I put them up.
Well, you like
talked
about it.
Yeah, I talked about it, and then I put them up, and I didn't sell them. And then, like, I don't know, it was maybe like 2 months ago, someone contacted me from a listing that I had up, and I don't even think I ever took down and said, "Are they still available?" And I was like, you know what? I want a new synthesizer, so yeah, they're still available. So I just sold them, and 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 so I've always been in a performing aspect with that band. We would play in the Philadelphia tri-state area, just like a punk kind of band, and we went out and did our thing. And so the performing part of it, I don't want to say it comes naturally, but it's just that it's been there for a long time. I don't really get too concerned about it. I just block everybody out. But incorporating like Ableton into performing, as you guys know, I took like a whole course on that, a couple month course from an artist out in Los Angeles. Her name's Laura Escade, and she gave a wealth of materials that, for a little while I was like, what am I going to do with this? But over the past year, I've gone back in, and just because I have access to it forever, and there's a lot that she gave out that helped me with some of the performances that I've done, but now performances, obviously, I haven't really done too much with it.
So have you done any live streaming stuff? How has the COVID pandemic affected you in terms of, in terms of your mindset for producing music and your access to perform it?
Yeah. Producing the music, no, I've been busy doing things. I don't have it out there yet. Some stuff, the last stuff that I released was like last summer. Just a couple, like I think it was 3 songs, 2 of my own, and then I did like a remix of a Post Malone song in the style of like an 80s synthy, version. I found his vocals on YouTube, and they were just by themselves. So of course I ripped them off and just put it into like a remix. So, and put it out there, and I mean, views, whatever. I don't know. It's there's not a ton, but
well, we've had other artists on, and Jen and I have talked about this, like the metric for success being views. Jen, how would you how do you say that politely?
I think I was talking about this with a bunch of people in here the other day. We had like an hour-long discussion about
I'm sure.
because Instagram took away or theoretically took away I didn't know this or not, the likes. So you can't see how many people like your stuff, or you can't see a post and see how many people like it. So how does that influence how we interact or want to interact with things? So to sum it all up, I think it's a good thing, because then you end up liking things because you like it for the sake of liking it.
Right.
But as far as metrics are concerned, I'm a big fan of doing art for the sake of art, and it just organically growing to how it does, and having like 8,000 plays versus 2, it doesn't really matter to me. But that's just, and I don't think it should. I don't think it should make you feel more or less of an artist due to playership.
I mean, it's who the likes are, right? Like in your, I know some of the soundtrack work that you've gotten, Jen, is because the right person heard what you were doing on SoundCloud and said, "Oh, here," and called you up out of the blue.
And that's the thing.
You had a couple of international.
I never advertise. I was telling my classes the other day, I never put something out saying, "Hey, I'll score your film." It was just word of mouth. So it's like there's something to be said for that, like just being you and just putting yourself out there, and that one person listens to it, and that other person just happens to listen and just happens to know someone that needs you for something. But I don't go into it with the intention of I want to make it big, or I want to make the next big hit. I always just go into it I want to do this because I want to express myself, or I just want to. It doesn't come from a place of for me, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but for me, I don't come from this I need this people to say you're doing well through likes and listens, and I that doesn't translate to everyone else. But
the social media validation. Right.
Yeah. So I'm not, I think it's good to toss that to the side, because in the end, if you impact one person, that's what's important more than like everyone just being a passive listener. 8,000 passive listeners. Would you rather have one like engaged person that is impacted by it, or like 8 passive people not impacted by it? So that's
Right.
how I look at it. Sorry, that was a little rant, but like
No, that's okay. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, I look at it like I don't know if I don't know if I want validation, especially social media. Like
yeah.
I haven't really been active on social media. Probably maybe, I don't know, maybe because it's just something I didn't grow up with. You know, I'm a little bit older, and when I did put stuff out, you know, you'd get a thumbs up from your mom, and who's even older, you know, and you know, maybe a couple friends might have heard it, but you know, like you said, like it's social media, and like you put it out there, and then the next thing you know, it's just like someone else puts up, not just a post, anything, you know, boom, 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 and the next thing you know, you're falling down the line, you know, and it's just kind of like, well, you know, I decided not to just put anything out and focus on making it good. That's I just want it to be good. Before I put it out, I want it to be good in my heart and in my mind that I'm happy with it.
So let me ask you, I mean, because this is something that we bring up in SRT a lot, like what do you define as the end/good enough for people to listen? Like where do you define that for yourself?
I define that in terms of, yes, as an artist and putting things out there, you know, I shouldn't care, but I do. So, I will try and listen to what I've done and maybe bring in another track into the whatever Pro Tools or Ableton, whatever I'm working in, and listen to them both. And if they're sonically, you know, mixed well, and it has, you know, some sort of like a good feeling to it, then I know I'm almost there.
Sure.
So, you know, it's just it takes me a long time because I'm not a trained musician, but I'm learning as I'm going here and taking other things outside of like what I've learned at Monco. And there's so many valuable resources, whether you pay for them or not, online, that you see other people who are making, you know, let's just say pop music, and they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And they're just throwing things together, and and I think there's the guy from One Republic. His name's Ryan Tedder. He's on like this. The one reality show that I did enjoy watching was called Songland. I think there was like 4 episodes of it, but they deconstructed, like people would come in and pitch a song, and then the 3 or 4 people who were judges would pick the person, and they'd go in and they deconstruct the song and turn it into something that was just like, oh, radio ready, you know. And he was one of them. And he basically says, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, I can play guitar a little bit and I can play piano a little bit, but I just know what sounds good. And that's what I go with. Another guy a class that I took with was Dead Mouse. Yeah. He's the same way.
Was that a master class? That was a great one. Yeah.
I mean, that guy's a genius when it comes to all of this. And then he can put it all together without knowing anything and not playing anything. So a lot of times, if I'm having problems, if I can't get somewhere, I just think about that. It's like, listen, it's no brainer work. Just do something. Just get something done and build off of it and see where it goes.
I think you bring up an excellent point. I think part of it, even though you didn't say this, I think part of it is the fear of starting and the fear of not knowing where it's going to go, and just kind of releasing that like tension and fear and just going like, let me just try. Like maybe I don't know this chord progression, or I don't know like what this instrument is like, but let me just like mess around with it, try it out. And then you don't like, from that, it can shape just in an organic fashion into something that's really, really interesting and unique. And no, I think you bring up excellent points about you don't have to know first off, no one knows everything, but like also you don't have to know any, like a lot of people I feel in this industry feel that like, or they look at other people and they're like, they know everything. Oh my gosh, they're a genius. And I'm not saying they're not, but like not everyone knows everything, and it's good to network with people that are, you know, better at certain things than others and build off of that. So
absolutely.
So it's just, and that for everyone here, you know, I preach that. So so Yeah, no, that's good points.
And Brandon, your studio there looks terrific. Could I ask you to give us a little tech tour of what
Sure.
pieces you have and who talks to who? And
everybody talks to Ableton mostly. When it comes to like when I'm into creating music, I'm pretty much just creating in Ableton. If I'm doing vocals, that's when I use Pro Tools because of comping vocals and doing all that. It was easier in Pro Tools. Apparently now in Ableton 11 you can do that.
Right.
I haven't upgraded.
You can comp vocals in 11?
In 11 you can comp vocals. Yeah.
That's
One of the big I was like, oh, it's about time.
That's like the biggest thing Pro Tools, not the biggest, but like that's like one thing Pro Tools had over Ableton.
Right.
That's
so
right.
that's actually, so when I would work in Pro Tools on vocals. I like with I see him up in the corner watching. Mark Schuster and I have our little side pop duo. And so I work with his vocals in Pro Tools, and then when I get something good, I put it back into Ableton to get it with the music, or vice versa. I'll just bounce out of Ableton the music into Pro Tools and work with it that way. And then it's just lots of back and forth. But anyway, the equipment.
And so even nitty gritty, like you have so many things feeding into Ableton. Do you just have a massive powered USB hub and you just running everybody over with USB?
Yep. Yes. Everything is
MIDI over USB.
Yeah, except for the connection from the Prologue to my Behringer. I have a Behringer Pro 1, the emulation of the Sequential Circuits Pro V. I have like a nice short little MIDI cable connector out of the MIDI out of the Prologue into the MIDI in of the Behringer. So then I actually quickly put it together today at some point, so that like you could like literally play the push, have your Prologue play in a nice pad, and then the bass was coming out of the Behringer.
Nice.
It was cool because I was like, well, if I could just program this, and then you do a live show, and you're like, let's just program everything and be like, I haven't set this one up yet. I was going to quickly try and throw this one. This is a friend of mine. He's in Germany, but this is from 94 or 95, the Nordlied 2.
As soon as I see red, I think Nord, but
and it was in his basement for a while, and I think it got really damp. So sometimes things are wonky. It's not mine, it's his. I'm not gonna get it serviced or anything like that. But sometimes I run like a daisy chain through it just to layer pads or something like that. But I didn't set that up. And plus switching the MIDI on that thing it's trying to figure out, like, say, MIDI channel 3 just for that. It's just the 2 buttons, and you're just trying to, like, where is this? How? And then you got, you pull the manual out. You're like, okay, you got to do that. And then I was just like, forget it,
So just to switch gears, sorry again. We just had one last, Nathaniel has a question. How do you personally describe your creative process when making music? Are there any particular artists you listen to for inspiration?
Oh yeah. For me, it's a lot of 80s. And if I go into so we'll just say, Tears for Fears, The Outfield, and then Depeche Mode, Erasure, like all those synthy pop. Well, Tears for Fears isn't really synth pop, but they are, of the 80s. And like, Brandon,
would you say it's fair to say that, like, for someone that doesn't know this genre, if they've watched Stranger Things, it's a good representation?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Those guys, I think they're my age, but they nail everything in that series. I mean, music to nostalgia it's just that series is so fun to watch. That and the music, the Goldbergs. If you watch the Goldbergs, it's funny. Mark's here, but we're currently writing a song, working on a song called Transor Z, which is an old Japanese animated series from like the 70s. And the other day I'm watching the Goldbergs, and would you know it, the kid walks into his room and there's the doll of Transor Z in the corner. And I was like, oh my God.
Like everything's connected in this weird way.
We got to get this song done. It needs to go to the Goldbergs. It's crazy.
I love
it. Yeah. So those are my info. Like now I like the bands. Obviously I mentioned Dead Mouse. And then like deep house music has a good influence. The dark, deep house, minimal stuff. Because Martin Gore from Depeche Mode does his own thing on the side of Depeche Mode that I really like. And then bands like pop bands like Churches, love Churches. And I was going to say, Future Islands. Those types of bands. Because Future Islands, the keyboardist and the guy who writes all the cool synth stuff is, I'm pretty sure this is the guy, but he's like me. He's an old metalhead. I mean, going back in high school for me, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned, the 80s stuff, but I was also a big glam metal, heavy metal
Cinderella?
freak. I just rewrote a Cinderella song
Fun
in
fact,
all
my
synth.
fun fact, my dad's band opened for Cinderella.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I have it's not getting, it's funny. I can show you but I'm trying to take some of that music and turn it into like synth-based music.
Cool.
So the project is tentatively called Syntherella.
Dig it.
Right.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
And the first song was, I think it's Somebody Save Me.
Nice.
And I haven't, like I said, there's so many things sitting on this computer. Who the heck knows where everything's
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah, sure.
But
so
yeah,
you would say like, so like that era or genre of music is what kind of influences you. But what about like the creative process?
Oh, sure.
How do you start with that? I guess start with that. And we could, I guess, maybe go into more of the technical aspects.
Sure.
Yeah.
I generally start out with like a chord progression. What do I want to write in? What am I feeling? I never know. It's just one of those things, like you start out with a chord progression and then I'll go like what the tool that I use is it Unison MIDI? Is that what it is? The Unison MIDI bundle? Yeah, Unison MIDI bundle. And basically they've already pre-written chords in MIDI. So I'll go put like each chord progression or each chord like on my push. So C, if it's C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then I'll put the click on just to hear it. And I'll play progressions. 1, 6, 5, 4, 1, 4, whatever, something that comes up, and I'll build it on an 8-bar loop. And then I just keep going. Then I find out, like my big thing is whatever the chord progression is to try and get the bass to match the lowest chord, whether it's with the whole chord progression or chopped up into some rhythmic pattern, and then I just start, and then I go to splice and I find drums, like a drum pattern that's already done. It's already been like, Splice is like amazing for that. If you don't have a membership there, I think it's like $8 a month, go there. There's 500,000 samples of just stuff. And it's just such a creative burst, there's so much inspiration there. And it doesn't mean that, you have to use it. But like, I'll go get drums just to get a feel for what I'm trying to do. And then things just start to evolve. The whole 80s, even 90s, whatever. If you have a song in mind that you want to reference, put it into your DAW. Get the tempo, find out, all the information, the key. You don't need to use it, and then go into your DAW and mark. Here's the intro. Okay, this is the verse. Oh, here's a pre-chorus. Here's a chorus, and map out some sort of arrangement so that you can start to build a song, like the structure of a song. You don't need to keep it that way, but you'll be amazed at how many songs you'll start to write when you have a little bit of a blueprint to get working. And then from there, it just goes.
Absolutely.
And then the hardest part for me is melodies.
That's really interesting because a lot of people, at least I've noticed in SRT, melodies are like, or vocals are just locked in, and then rhythmic stuff, it's like we're all like, where are we? As everyone here knows, we've been going through this semester.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like an either or type thing.
Yeah. It's hard because I get real tough on myself, I guess, when it comes to writing a melody, because obviously not everything's going to be pleasurable for everyone's ears. I would love it, but even all your artists, not everything is great. So, but one of my key things when I'm writing melodies is to not copy anything that, like if your bass goes, your bass notes go A, C, E, whatever, D, something like that. 1, 3, what is that? 5, 4, make sure I just try to make sure that my vocal melody does not emulate anything on the bass, because the bass is following the chorus in most cases. If you follow your vocal melody with the bass in the chorus, it's all going to be like, blah, blah, blah. It's all going to sound the same. So when I'm writing a melody, I make sure I'm over top or, within the chord progression, a different note. Obviously, if you're singing a few notes within the chord progression, you might hit that note, but just make sure that I just try to make sure that I'm not emulating the note on every chord, and every bass note, so that it sounds the same. There's got to be a sonic difference, and like we always have talked about in a lot of the production classes, finding your pocket. So if you find something, if you write something in C major, and you're just singing the same notes that are the bass and the chords, it's gonna be boring. So just to try and switch it up. That's what
and make it your own. So
make it your own. And then obviously, like, you have a song. If you have a song that you're referencing, you turn that off. You get it in there, you get their arrangement, you turn it off, and then you start to rearrange how you want to arrange it. It's just a good starting point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Awesome. So
I always love when we have speakers who are so willing to talk about their process, and I honestly think that's what makes you successful, right? I think the people who are more nervous about, well, I haven't copyrighted this yet, and I can't let anybody know how I came up with this because it's going to, I don't know what the fear is, right?
Yeah.
But somehow the fear is that if I don't control and own this, like I'm losing. And the people that we've had come in on this series from, all over the world and all over the area, all say the opposite. They're willing, like Brandon, to sit down and say, look, here's exactly what I do. Here's exactly how I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Now you go and you take this. And I think that kind of generosity of spirit is what really makes people creatively successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I don't worry too much about sounding like something else, or even because what's that phrase? Imitation is the
sincerest form of flattery. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to go into like too much like of a rant, but I did have an issue when I watched the Grammys the other night. That
I wonder if it's the same one. Go ahead.
Oh, really? I wonder. Well, I did to the end of it. Forget it. But no offense to people who enjoy that. I just thought that was crazy.
No, I don't. I
But
casual watcher here.
Yeah. One of the artists sang a song, and I think it was like supposed to be a country song. It had a great meaning, especially in these times. It just, the words, how she expressed it. It was a blatant copy of another song. Like I stopped what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, that's another song. So I muted the TV and I just kept going in my head. And I went and I found the other song and I compared them side by side because it was bothering me so much. And I have a friend who is very successful in the music industry. And I sent it to him. I go, and we do this all the time. And I was just like, this is this song, right? I mean, it's this song. And he sends me a text message back. He's like, he's like, dude, that is, what's going on with that? Yeah, I agree 100%. And I was just like, they're showcasing this on the Grammys, but there's got to be millions of people who are listening to this going, that's that song from 7 years ago. Like, it's the choruses were dead on. Like it was worded, like the chorus was worded longer, but it was still almost the same notes. So I was just like, well, just going back to then, like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Because people are stealing bits and pieces from all over the place. All of your big producers in LA and New York and Memphis, Nashville, they're using other people's stuff and just tweaking it to their advantage. And so if you're out there struggling and thinking, oh, don't worry about it. It'll work out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And how does sampling work for you? Are you doing any original sound? Are you walking around during COVID times with your mask on, taking field recordings?
No,
Are you?
no. No, I don't. The only thing that I use a sampler for are like vocals. And I actually had that pulled up. I can show it whenever. As one of the things in Ableton that I do. I'll take like a little vocal chunk from Splice because I can't sing. Doesn't really matter at that. But if you can't sing, if you're sampling something, it's just your voice. You can do tons of stuff,
True.
And so that I'll put into either a simpler in Ableton and just manipulate it, or I'll go into the sampler and get deep and multi-sample, like if it's a vocal that
nice.
has different ranges or something. The one that I used in this deep house is like an ABS pipe, which I mean that's probably one of my favorite instruments to use in any music. This ABS pipe sound, it sounds so cool. But it was only registered from like C1 to C2. And then, the D was D2, and, you put it into your sampler and you just have all this whole like pile, and then you can map it to your, keyboard and go from there, MIDI controller and go from there, and then just use it for some really cool, really, really cool effects.
Really great ideas.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to take over the screen and show us some Ableton tricks or some
since we
music you've been working on. Yeah.
This is,
you ought to be able to just do a share screen, right?
I made it so it's sure. Okay, you're also co-host, don't
Yeah.
Share sound. How are we looking?
Beauteous. The beauty that is Ableton.
Yes. Oh, look at all the pretty colors.
Well, that's because you're organized. Let's be honest. Though I don't know. That's a lot of colors. Maybe you're just a rainbow fan. I don't know.
No, this is what this is
no, this makes sense. I see what's going on here.
Yeah, this is
you got like subs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is a subcategory. So I put so we'll just go over this. Here's my side chain. Like in dance music, if you guys don't know, almost everything has a side chain because you want that 4 on the floor kick to stand out. Because otherwise, it's like
muddy.
If you don't, it's muddy. Or if this example, let's just. Oh, you know what? Let me see something.
One thing I'll say about side chaining though is a lot of people I've noticed want to know how to do side chaining before they even know what compression is.
Right.
Which side chaining is awesome, but it's also good to know what exactly it's doing. So, yeah.
Right. Let me just double check and make sure I got music here. Did you hear that?
We got it.
Okay. So anyway, back to the side chaining, real quick. So yeah, this whole track has sides. It's a deep house track that some of the elements are mine, some of it aren't. I basically wanted to learn how to write some deep house, and so how do you do that? I found a course online that I think during the pandemic, it probably took me 3 weeks to get through everything. Because it's just like so intense, but I mean, I learned a ton. So this is like one of the 7 or 8 projects that you can build. So this started out as nothing. You just open Ableton and start. So that's what this started out at. So the first thing you did was a side chain, and that's it. If does everybody know? Do you think or?
No, let's include. Let's include everybody.
Assume we know nothing.
Gotcha. So basically, what this does is it creates in dance music you have 4 on the floor kicks. So you have there we go. I got to move this because it's in my way. So here is Dance Music Central, right? That's everything. So if you go here, if you can hear that pulse, the side chain then is controlling that pulse. So if I turn that off, it turns into churchy kind of music. So there's nothing. I don't know if you're getting that. Can you feel that?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we can hear
so
it.
this is like we were walking into like a church and someone's playing the organ. As soon as you add the side chain and then the kick, it creates this feel of you want to get in on the dance floor. You know what it is? The club, you're hanging out. So in all of the music that's present on a lot of these tracks. So here. I said I was going to go down to that one sampler. Sorry, let me do that. So here's a sampler, a sample of the simpler. Here we have our sound right down here. And the starting point, I just picked a point to start it. I didn't really get that crazy with it, So it's here or here. You can slide your starting point around.
And just for folks who might be non-Ableton, right? There's like a simpler device, and then there's a sampler device, right? And the sampler is just full featured,
right,
like maybe too full featured for most things.
Yeah, in the sampler, you could take this sound and then add even more sounds to it. But then you can so if I wanted to play that on that sound and then another different sound down here, I could. That's what the sampler allows you to do. So the simpler is just the one audio sample. So this is a vocal, and you go in, and it's really cool how you can take that vocal then and create different parts to the song. Oops. That's what I was trying to do. Loop it. So here's an example of this vocal. So in the simpler, then it takes that vocal and assigns it to whatever note you want to play. So this one note now has become this melodic chord, with a little accent to bring it out.
Wow.
And you start experimenting. You know what I mean? You just start playing, and you put in any old sample here, and whatever it is, you can make really cool progressions and really cool sounds. And yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the simpler. If you go to the sampler, that's that pipe I was telling you about that I love. Now you can see things got a little bit more creative and hectic down here. This is all your samples. So this that vocal sample that I just played technically would just be that was the vocal sample in the simpler, even though this is a pipe, but the sampler allows you to layer more samples so that you can, assign them differently to your keyboard. So you're all over. Gives you a little bit more flexibility. There's some over here. There are some parameters that you can adjust, and you just go with what sounds good. And like this piece is it's almost the melody of the song. It's hard to hear. My volume, turn it up.
We can hear it.
You can hear it okay? And then you add that into the rest of the song, and this part I'll show you. It stops.
I think an important thing that you're demonstrating here is that, like, when we think, or at least I discuss when we think about music, we think it's like one vocal, one guitar track. But
Right.
like here is a great example of just like how one sound can totally just alter how everything sounds, for
Right.
lack of a better way of saying it.
Sure.
And just like the concept of layering just really lends itself to more expression and
Layer,
stuff.
layer.
Yes.
I mean, when you layer stuff, I mean,
I know
all
what
of
Summer's
these-
in here. She knows what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when you start layering things, especially like pads and maybe even leads sometimes too. The only thing I don't really layer much is a bass. I might have a high and a low bass.
Yeah.
But you don't want you start
When you think about like
6 basses, you're like,
frequency, it's like not
going.
much
Yeah,
space
you're but yeah, so like okay, so like another cool thing in Ableton is the instrument rack. So if you look down here, this whole thing is in one rack. So it's one instrument. It's a massive instrument. Let's see if it comes up. It's not letting me bring it up.
This might be a weird question, but like, because a lot of
pause.
folks here use Pro Tools, like you have in SRT.
Yeah.
How would you translate what this is if you were using it in Pro Tools? Like, if there was a way you could think of it.
Translate it.
Like how, like as a plug, like use, like seeing it as a plugin, like a chain of plugins, or like, I don't know, like how would you translate this?
You mean this bottom instrument
the bottom,
rack type
yeah.
stuff? Yeah, in Pro Tools, let's see. How would you? Because right here, if you look down at the bottom here, I'm trying to think how you would.
You know, I
use
just
this in
was
Pro
curious if
Tools.
you had any like.
Because in all honesty, what you call open up a track in Pro Tools. If you have Ableton, then put it on one of the tracks, or what you call it. Why is the
Instrument track?
Yeah, an instrument track, or an audio track with why can't I think of, like, when you're combining two DAWs together, there's
Rewire?
the rewire, right?
Yeah,
You can
I mean, you don't have
rewire
to
it
do it
in,
anymore,
but
but
if you don't
yeah.
have Ableton, it's hard to explain how. I mean, other than going in and automating everything in Pro Tools, go in and click on your plugin, pick the things you want to automate, and then boom, down below your track, you have a whole list of things that you want to automate.
Right. And that's where I guess the point I'm trying to make is I think like this is where Ableton kind of shines.
I think it blows it away in that sense. Because I mean, the next thing you know, if you want to automate if you look down at the bottom of the screen down here.
You don't have to take any pencils. I mean, you can, but you don't have to take any.
The pencil. I hate pencil. I hate pencils anyway. The only time I use a pencil is if I want to, if I'm writing something and a chord progression, and I just want to take it and just mess up the velocities a little bit, just to give it a little bit more of a human feel. Other than that, I hate the pencil. Especially, I hate the pencil in Pro Tool. I can't stand it. It just doesn't.
It's pretty bad.
It doesn't react to me.
No.
Anyway, but so in Pro Tools, you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There's a lot going on.
Right. In this one, it's 6 automation lanes, but everything is taken.
It's just so cool. I just love. I'm just sorry, geeking out a little bit. I just love how accessible it is. Like, it's like right there, and literally you turn a knob.
Right.
Whereas if you're in a different DAW, like Pro Tools, something's going on.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Who's going off? Is it me?
I don't know.
I didn't do anything.
Turn their audio on. That might be no. Hi Maurice. I'm gonna have to mute you for a second though.
Oh, there we go.
We found the culprit. Hi, Maurice.
Sorry, I had to mute you. No, what I was saying was that what was I gonna say? Just the accessibility of just being able to turn a knob and not go, okay, let me go in here.
Yeah.
Pick the parameter. I want to be able to automate. Okay, let me go in the, find here, automate that. It's just, it's very nice that it's just visually accessible.
Yeah. And that translates also for, obviously production, but it also translates even more so for live performance.
Yeah. Oh. No,
You
no.
know?
I'm not gonna even. There's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a whole like that's another talk,
Yeah,
because
right,
it's
that
just
could be a
the
whole nother-
stuff that I think Kendall was asking me in an email if I used any Max devices or anything like that, which I haven't, but I did dabble with one. I think it was CliffX Pro, and it allowed me to write scripts to in a live performance, basically to change the massive instruments so that while I would be playing the chorus on one instrument, it would automatically change it to the verse so that I could play the verse on a different, an instrument. So that's outside of this standard Ableton suite, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy. That stuff's nuts. But yeah, the instrument rack itself, having that here, you have all these parameters right here that you control, and then you can control it within Massive, so that the dry wet chorus, the dry wet reverb is being controlled or actually it's the filter cutoff is being controlled in Massive. So let's see if it works, if you can see anything.
I like Massive. I think it's so fun.
It's my favorite. I haven't gotten the new one. I just was like, I know this one. I know how to operate. I know where everything is routed. So whatever. Yeah. But yeah, so you can see like this. Here, I'll get that out of here. The filter cutoff up here is written, and it's great because I wrote I think to here, if you can see that, and then you just go like this, and copy and paste all the way down. There's a drop here because I think it was a different part of the song, but then yeah, so everything in this track is being controlled by this instrument rack, and it's just a cool tool. It really is. It's awesome to go in and map everything. You just hit your map and you select this attack, and you can assign it then this attack to this macro. So if I hit, let's see, find something that's all right. We'll just say the amount, and we'll put it on this macro, and there's your LFO amount. Boom. Nice. And then you can control it. Let's see the filter's not doing anything. So once it kicks in, if it kicks in, it would make some changes because it's the filter is just your normal filter. It's not activated yet. So once that filter activates, then the LFO would activate. But so
right, and I think in 11 they've just like juiced up these, the macro section of the instrument rack so much. You can have 16 instead of 8 now. You can have you can have it quickly memorize certain settings, right? A whole snapshot of what all those 16 settings are, and you can have a list of different settings built right into the instrument rack. And the thing that's cool, right? This is so easy, point and click. The thing that Max gives you is if you wanted to, you could have multiple, as you're saying, right? You can map multiple knobs, multiple parameters to each of those knobs. But with Max, you could say, oh, you know what? I don't want it to linearly vary between these 2 points. I want it to be kind of this, exponential curve, or I want it to kind of in a nonlinear way move between these two. So you can really open up, and Ableton includes Max. I mean, you just can't you just can't imagine how much you're getting.
It's such a it's such a multi-faceted digital audio workstation. I mean, they all have their advantages, but this one it just is I just think it's a little bit higher than all the other ones when it comes to like being like techie and creative.
Very German.
The creative aspect of it is just through the roof. And that's why I got into it, because I just felt that it gave me the best option to do. Because I worked in Pro Tools since 2003, and I can remember just being horrified by what it was. I mean, we had access to it because of the band that my friends were in, and we were doing stuff on ADAT and just, it was like, I was just like, you know what? I just want to be the drummer. That's all I want. And I never really, I mean, I would, if they were recording guitars or vocals, I'd hit space bar or control 3 or whatever it was, 3. And then that was all I ever did as an engineer for all those years, because I didn't do any editing. I let the guitar player do the editing because it was just like archaic. So,
well, I think that's part of the attraction of being in electronic music at this point in time, right? Everybody has their own feelings. Like you look for complexity, and then you get to a point where you're like, that's enough complexity. Now I don't like it. And, everyone's level and threshold for that is different. But at this point in time, I mean, there are such a range of DAWs, and there are so many interfaces and so many options for you to find a comfort point and be able to produce really fascinating, interesting personal music. It's a really exciting time, and it's just brilliant to see like how completely you've mastered this tool, because I remember you working on this. I remember you like not knowing all of this about Ableton, and you've made the journey, right?
Yeah. That's it's like, I feel like the journey is still at the beginning, because it just seems like it never ends. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what the heck?
Like even
Save.
the new Pro Tools that came out, like now there's all these like folders and stuff, and I'm like, there's always something new to learn, even if it's version, not new version. And that's the cool thing about this stuff, is that like there's always something new to learn and explore. So
yeah, I mean, it's just nonstop. And I can't say that I feel like I'm an expert, but I do know my way around both those pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, in my setup, I mean, I just have a newer Mac Mini and a 6-channel audio interface. So, when you get into like the mix room, then it's just, then you're, well, how do you route all of this correctly? You know what I mean? I was even just having issues before I got on here trying to route things to just, go through my
I think you're
tabletop synth, and it's just crazy.
But you bring up a good point. Like troubleshooting is something that is a lifelong thing.
It's every time.
Yeah, like a lot of times, people will come through like, oh, this doesn't work, I give up, or like, oh, I can't plug this in right. It's like, no, that's like part of the journey, is like messing around.
And it's a variety. It's just like this variety of different things. Like also before I was here, I was trying to figure out how to I already know how to solo 2 tracks in Ableton. You know what I mean? It's just the command key and you click, but it wasn't doing it. I was like, what is going on? And it was 15 minutes. I was like, let me go downstairs, get some more coffee, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I want to be able, if I want to play these 2 tracks later, what's going on? Well, it's because my solar keyboard was stuck underneath my thing, so it wasn't getting the troubleshooting.
Right. No, and that's what I discussed. You've like to check your cables connections before you go like, oh, there's something wrong with the actual software.
Yeah. I'm like, this Ableton, sometimes it glitches. I don't get it. And half the time when I'm complaining about it, it's something stupid that I did. Most 95% of the time,
Now, Brenda, do you have any NPE instruments? Bill is asking about MPE, and Ableton 11 and Bitwig both support MPE now. But I mean, I think the push is now like in version 11, it's like kind of velocity sensitive per note, right?
Yeah, right.
But I don't see like a Sensel or any roller keyboards or anything around.
None of that. I don't think I know the Prologue is not MPE capable. I don't think. I didn't read anything about it. That for me has been just something I read about. I haven't gotten too crazy into that area. But like you said, it's a lifelong learning process. So eventually at some point, probably will, look into seeing how that is. Since I don't have 11 either, there's no,
right.
And for now, I don't have my main focus is just writing songs and writing music. So I don't get that too crazy into that feels more of like a sound design thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting so we don't overload folks on that acronym. So MPE, right, is this multiple polyphonic expression. So even, right, you can have instruments where as you press the key, it changes and modifies some parameter. But now you can also have the way you lift your finger off the key modifies the parameter. The way you wiggle on the key modifies set of parameters. So it becomes, so it's very much instrument.
It's like to especially for people, I think, coming from a classically trained background, playing it like because it seemingly looks like I don't know, like the Rolly, it looks like a traditional, MIDI keyboard, right? But it's totally not. Like kind of like the way you lift like you said, lift your finger, slide it, and it becomes like a different note. So it's
almost like this. It's almost like, if you're playing a guitar and you're playing up here and you want to go wee like that. So you play you play your keyboard
Slides,
and you take your finger off and it triggers that wee, that pitch raise or whatever. I mean, there's just so many things. So
I mean, so we're used to MIDI, and when you send information across in MIDI, you're in this range of like 0 to 127, which is because 40 years ago that's what 8 bits encoded. So and so MIDI 2 is, going to multiply that by thousands. But what do you do with thousands more levels of velocity? It takes you a while to kind of.
You write an AI program that's out of this world. That's what you do.
Well, that's interesting, actually. Have you played with any of that? Like, there's an increasing amount of AI. So Google has NSynth, and they have, and they've Magenta. They've distributed plugins for Ableton that are AI tools, and they'll look at a track and they'll build suggested pieces off of your track. Have you explored any of that?
Not yet. That's the lifelong journey. You know what I mean? It's just still anything super. For me, super technical. Like I give everyone that is in computer programming, in those classes, all the credit in the world, because I took one. I guess it was one of the first one, programming for everyone, and I got it to a certain point, and then I was like, oh man, I don't know.
Stopped having fun, huh?
If then what? If then who? Wait, what am I? How is? Oh, there's 30,000 different. I'm like, no, forget it. So that was so that part of my mind doesn't always grasp concepts. It takes a while. It's hard enough grasping chord progressions. And exactly.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's okay. Like, and for what you're doing, like, I mean.
Well, that's what makes it. That's why it's fun to do music in teams. To do music together, right?
Exactly. Right.
Have you done that? Have you done any online collaboration during this period, or are you pretty independent?
Other than with Mark, I haven't done anything else. I worked with I collaborated with someone out in California from the class I took with Laura Escade, and we have some stuff. We have some pieces of music, but it kind of got pushed aside because there's all this other stuff that I was working on.
Yeah.
And that might bring that back into the fold at some point. He was modular. And he sent some modular stuff. Yeah.
That's a whole nother universe. Yeah.
He sent me some modular stuff and some guitar parts. And I put it together with my stuff, and it's there. There's so much. I mean, even though with the music and the the pandemic and all the other outside influence, it's just like I wish I didn't have to sleep.
Yeah. That's how you should be living, right? That's how we all should be living. Yeah. Like, sleep is cheating us out of the fun we're having when we're awake.
Right.
Instead of make me go to sleep because I can't take this anymore.
Right. And then I can't sleep. And it's like, why am I even trying?
So is there anything you want to, like, because we're running, close to the end here. Did you want to, like, play through anything, or did anyone have any last questions, or like however you want to wrap it up?
I don't. This is just like I said. This is a song. I mean, we don't have to listen to it. It was just
I don't know.
Examples. I mean, I can. I just for the sake of hold on a second here. Just for the sake of my frantic setting up of the MIDI earlier, this is just a little background of, and then I'll do this. So performing wise, so here's I must not be on. Oh wait, hold on. See, troubleshooting. Oh, I know why, dummy. I've got to arm the track, right? So here's this MIDI example that I did with my, the pad is playing on the Prologue. The bass notes are playing on the Pro, and I'll just noodle over here. We'll see. Isn't that funny? I would be. Well, that's what it. That's what it's supposed to be about. Well, that was supposed to be the instruments that I set up, but I don't know. It might have something to do with the routing of the way I'm running through Zoom. What's that?
Yeah.
Loopback. Have you heard of that?
Have I heard of that? I think I have, but I don't know exactly what that is.
It's so that like essentially you can. It's almost like
oh, you
behind the
did
hood
send
signal.
that to me. Yeah, I think it has something to do with sending this through Zoom or something.
Yeah, it works really
Right.
well.
Whatever. So sorry.
Not to say no, it wasn't. No, it's fine. I'm just saying like it's an option in the future. Like it's something definitely look into.
Oh yeah. No, if anything, it was working earlier where the synth was playing that pad you heard, the bass was being played through the my tabletop Pro V, and then I was just gonna noodle on, which you can hear that. But,
Yeah, very nice. Well, I got to say, people on the boards are loving the sound. They're just, people are digging the things you've produced here.
Is there a Brandon? Do you have like a link you could either email me?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I can post it on as an announcement.
Yeah, I'll send you the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have Spotify, and
Yeah.
then give me a listen. Maybe I can get a couple pennies.
Yeah.
And go listen, and if anybody just go listen to the I would appreciate feedback on the for whatever reason on the any of the songs, but like the Post Malone song that I redid.
I'll take a listen.
Terrific.
Because I actually mastered that in the mix room.
Oh my gosh.
At Monco with
What
David.
did you use to master? Insight?
What do you mean?
Like
I ran everything through.
Oh, I was there. I remember this.
I ran everything through like a Pultec,
Yes.
and then through one of the 1176s, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So everything was just kind of like routed through there.
Yeah. Sure.
And, that was a cool experience. So,
sure.
But I'll Jen, I'll send that link to you so you get it.
And we'll have that up on, this is all going to be up on our YouTube channel for the college as well. So we'll have the links in the comment section there. Brendan, it is so great to see you again. I miss seeing you in the hallways. I miss seeing anybody in the hallways.
I know.
But I especially miss seeing you.
As soon as we get back into like allowing people to, get into the world again, which I'm fully on board. Just wait. But I'll be back bugging you.
Good.
Great. Outstanding. Well, thanks so much. We're so proud of you as an alum, and we're so grateful to you for sharing your time with us this afternoon.
Awesome.
And let's wrap it there for our local perspectives on electronic music. And we're looking forward to concluding our series with one more presenter. We have Claire Lim, who's one of the very few women who are an Ableton certified trainer, and she's a classically trained musician, and she's an electronic music producer, and she's a faculty member at the Berklee School of Music in New York. And we're going to have her to close out our series. So be sure to keep your eye on the calendar for that as well.
Very nice.
Brendan, thanks a million.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you. I'll see you again.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.